Hey everyone. Hope everyone's doing happy. Hope you all are doing safe, doing well, and doing overall great this week. Here's your Geek Report for the week of February the 12th through February the 19th, 2024. First off, we're going to look at TV and movie news. And the first bit of news we got this week is news about a Masters of the Universe reboot getting some news. Okay. In other news, the Fantastic Four movie that's going to be part of the MCU got its cast revealed as well as a new release date. And X-Men 97, the sequel to the original X-Men cartoon series that's near and dear to a lot of our hearts, get a trailer and release date this past week. And over in gaming news, we got some news that there's going to be a Mandalorian game being produced by Respawn. And it's going to be in first person, which is really interesting. And I'm going to talk about that. So sit back, relax, grab yourself something to drink, grab yourself something to eat, and let's look at the Geek Report for the week of February the 12th through February the 19th, 2024. So let's get started for TV and movie news. And our first bit of news comes from an IP that, for many people, is still near and dear to their hearts. If you're like me and you were a child of the 80s, there were certain properties that you loved, that you absolutely loved. Okay. G.I. Joe, Transformers, Inspector Gadget, Stretch Armstrong, Rambo. I mean, the old Rambo cartoon show. But another one that a lot of people from the 80s love is Masters of the Universe. Now, back in 1987, they tried to do a live action adaptation of the cartoon show, and it didn't turn out very well. Okay. It's since gotten a cult following, but at the time, it didn't really turn out all that well. Okay. But now it seems they are getting ready to try again. Now, we already know there is a Masters of the Universe cartoon show on Netflix. And we know a while back that Netflix tried to get a live action movie off the ground, but it didn't go anywhere. But now we're getting some news that maybe, just maybe, a Masters of the Universe live action movie is trying to get off the ground again. Now, this information is coming from Screen Rant, and it talks about a new Masters of the Universe update, a live action update for Masters of the Universe. Okay. And it says here the upcoming reboot of Masters of the Universe is exciting due to the talented director Travis Knight, known for his successful work on Bumblebee. So he played on the spin-off to the Transformers movies called Bumblebee. And it talks about the 1987 adaptation to make the reboot needs to focus on the faithful interpretation of the characters, which is completely true. And it says here, despite the failures of live action 1987 Master of the Universe movie, the news surrounding the upcoming reboot is exciting, given the level of talent is slated to direct. Although the Master of the Universe reboot was originally for Netflix, the plans fell through, putting its fate in a bad position. However, the success of Barbie, Mattel is considering Amazon MGM Studios as the new home for Masters of the Universe. The news is particularly exciting considering the abysmal critical and commercial reception of the 1987 version, which is completely true. Okay. But since then, the Masters of the Universe movie with Dolph Lundgren, the 1987 one, has gotten a cult following. Okay. So it has gotten a little bit of a cult following, not a whole lot. And when I watch it, and I sometimes watch it, it brings back memories of the original Masters of the Universe. Okay. It brings back those times when I held up a stick in my hand and I would cry out, I have the power, and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that brings back memories. Okay. Now, is the movie, gotten better with age? No. Okay. But still, it's gotten a cult following. I do watch it sometimes. And I say that, for me personally, I can't speak for anyone else. For me personally, while it hasn't gotten better, it is fun to watch when you just want a silly movie to watch. You know what I'm saying? When you just want a silly movie to watch. But anyway, it keeps on going and it says while the 80s Master of the Universe movie starring Dolph Lundgren was an admirable attempt to bringing the superhero to life, several factors contributed to its downfall while eliminating any plans for an immediate sequel. However, with more successful attempts at bringing beloved 80s cartoons and toys to the big screen, now is the perfect time for Hollywood to revisit the classic character for modern audiences. In addition to the success of the 2024 Masters of the Universe Revolution, there's an even better reason to adapt He-Man live action context. It says here, continue reading. And it says here, Bumblebee proved Travis Knight is a great choice for the reboot of Masters of the Universe. Now let's look at some of Travis Knight's, basically his filmography. Okay, let's look at what he's done before. Okay, and this is his IMDb page. And as you've already heard, he did Bumblebee, and he was the director on Bumblebee. He was also the director on Kubo and the Two Strings. Now, I've heard a lot of good things about Kubo and the Two Strings. It's got a 7.7 on IMDb. Now, let's look at what else he's done. So, he worked as producer on The Missing Link, on Kubo, The Box Trolls, and Paranormal, or Paranorman, I should say. And then in the animation department, he worked on Kubo, The Box Trolls, Paranorman. He worked on Coraline, Moon Girl. Uh, I guess that's Dia de los Muertos. I think that's how you say it. Gary and Mike, the PJs, and the Boyer Brothers. So that's all what Travis Knight has worked on in terms of being a director, a producer, and other jobs he may have worked on in Hollywood. So going back to this, we're seeing that Travis Knight does have a little experience in adapting faithful IPs. Okay. And by all accounts, he is loyal to the original source material. Okay. And I think that's going to be really important in adapting Masters of the Universe to the live action. Okay. He needs to be faithful to the original source material. Now, I'm not stupid. Okay. I get it. This is a cartoon that was adapted to live action, and there's going to be maybe a few changes. Okay. There's probably going to be a few changes that we're going to have to live with because you are adapting something from animation to live action. Okay. But let me just say these few things. First off, he's got to remain loyal to the original 1980s adaptation. Do not go with the whole Masters of the Universe Revelation stuff. Go with the original 1980s stuff. Okay. Secondly, don't fall into the same pit that the original 87 movie did. Okay. Don't try and bring the war that happened on Eternia to Earth. Okay. I'm not even sure if Earth is in the same neck of the woods as Eternia. Okay. So don't try and do that. Okay. I think that was a major pitfall of the original 1987 version, was that they were trying to bring the war on Eternia to Earth. Okay. Don't. Keep it on Eternia. All right. Just keep it on Eternia. That's what I'm asking. Just keep it there. All right. 3, get a decent cast, okay? And try and get as close to the original characters as you can. But also get people who are fans of the original characters, okay? Don't get people who are fans of the reboot, the cartoon over on Netflix now. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I've heard some bad stuff about it, but I'm not sitting here saying there's anything wrong with it because I've not seen it yet, okay? But get people who are loyal, who know the original source material, okay? The 1980s stuff. Don't get people who don't know nothing about the 80s stuff, but instead only know about Revelations, okay? Get the people who know about the original source material, where it came from, the stories of the original He-Man and Masters of the Universe cartoon show, who played with the toys. Maybe even get someone who played with She-Ra. You know what I'm saying? Which was like the female version of He-Man at the time. No, get people like that. Okay. And that includes actors, that includes director, Travis Knight, of course. That includes the writers, that includes everyone working on it. And if they've not seen the original cartoon series, that should be the first thing he does. He said, look, you need to watch the original cartoon series. So I want you to sit down, binge watch it for however many hours it is, and come back. Okay? Get them to watch that series if they haven't. And if they have, make sure they're fans of it. Okay? And, I think there's a good opportunity for here because we're seeing a lot of old 80s properties being brought to the main screen. Okay, brought back to the main screen. Okay, we've seen Transformers and GI Joe. Transformers has been hit or miss. GI Joe mainly miss, especially Snake Eyes. We've not seen He Man yet. Barbie has done incredibly well from all accounts. Barbie has done incredibly well. There are others I would like to see. One that comes to mind, honestly, that just comes to my mind when I think of a reboot would be Brave Star. You know, so I really do hope he does stick with the 80s source material, get people who are loyal to the 80s stuff, and I hope he gets the right actors for the right roles. That's what I want. But yeah, going back to what we were talking about, the Masters of the Universe reboot was originally supposed to go to Netflix, but now it looks like it's going to be going to Amazon MGM Studios. Has got a director in Travis Knight, and he's known for Bumblebee and Kubo and the Two Strings. There's still no release date for it yet. There's still no trailer release date for it or anything like that. But we are getting some movement forward in a possible Masters of the Universe live action adaptation coming soon. So moving on in our TV and movie news, we found out this past week who will be playing the Fantastic Four, the famous family for the MCU. And there's a few names we know and a few names we don't know that are recognizable. Here we got the actors and actresses who will be playing top of the Fantastic Four movie. Now you'll notice that first off, we've got Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. I will say I'm kind of disappointed in this because, like, I really hoped and I really thought they were going to go with John Krasinski. He plays Jack Ryan on the Jack Ryan series. He also did Reed Richards in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And from what I've seen, I've not seen the movie yet, but from what I'm seeing of cuts of his acting as Reed Richards, I really hope they were going to go with that version of Reed Richards. I was really hoping for that. But apparently they decided to go another route. Now, another actress on here is Vanessa Kirby. She'll be playing Sue Storm. Joseph Quinn will be playing her brother, Johnny Storm. And Ebon Moss Bachrock will be playing Ben Grimm, all members of the Fantastic Four. Now, we have not gotten any news about who's going to be playing the villain or anything like that. Okay. And this will be the Fantastic Four's first introduction into the MCU. Okay. So this is not going to be like a sequel to the original movies, the first two, Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. This is going to be their introduction into the MCU overall. And we're going to kind of look at these actors and actresses, and I'm going to kind of just look through what they've done before and kind of just give you my overall impressions of it. So the first one we're going to look at is Reed Richards, who is now going to be played by Pedro Pascal. Now, we all know Pedro Pascal by this point. He plays, Jin Darin in The Mandalorian, if I can ever say the name right. He also plays as Joel in The Last of Us. He played as Whiskey in The Kingsman in The Golden Circle. And he also played Oberyn Martell in The Game of Thrones. Now, I have nothing against Pedro Pascal. I really don't. I mean, I think he does a great job on The Mandalorian, and all that. Okay, I've not seen The Last of Us. He did a great job on as Whiskey in The Kingsman, The Golden Circle. So he's a great actor. Okay, I just wish they had gone with John Krasinski. Okay, if you don't know who John Krasinski is, this here is John Krasinski. Now he plays as Jack Ryan in the Jack Ryan series over on Amazon. He also plays in A Quiet Place as Lee Abbott. And he also did Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness as Reed Richards. And I was really hoping they were going to go for this version of Reed Richards. I really was. Because by all accounts, from everything I've heard, people were raving about how he played Reed Richards in the Multiverse of Madness. Okay. Now, I think this also speaks to something that's going on over in Star Wars. Okay. because this is coming out in 2025, okay? And that's right around the time I believe that The Mandalorian and Grogu is supposed to premiere also. I have to wonder if this does not indicate that truly The Mandalorian and Grogu movie that we've all heard about, if it does happen, okay, question mark, if it does happen, if it happens, if it really is not the end of The Mandalorian. Now, I don't think it would be the end of Grogu, but would that be the end of The Mandalorian? Okay. Would that really be the end of that character? Would that really be an indication of, you know, John Favreau leaving Star Wars altogether? And would the fact that Pedro Pascal is taking the Fantastic Four movie, would that be an indication that that's what's happening? That they are putting an end to the Mandalorian, the Ding Djarin, storyline, and maybe they're going to focus on another Mandalorian, maybe Bo-Katan or someone else. So I do think that that does speak to that. But yeah, instead of going with John Krasinski, who we all have already seen as Reed Richards in the Multiverse of Madness, and who people said was great as Reed Richards, they decided to go with Pedro Pascal. Now let's move on to Sue Storm, and that is being played by Vanessa Kirby. And just to kind of look at some of her credits, her acting credits, we can see she's played in The Crown as Princess Margaret, Mission Impossible Fallout as the White Widow, The World to Come as Tally, and Pieces of a Woman, she played Martha. And just some of her other credits here. An actress, she's played in Napoleon. She's played in Mission Impossible. She played in The Crown, as I've already said. The Sun, Italian Studies, The World to Come, Pieces of a Woman, Fast and the Furious, Mr. Jones. She played in Mission Impossible Fallout. She played in The Frankenstein Chronicles, Me Before You, Kill Command, The Genius, The Dresser, Everest, Bone in the Throat, Jupiter Ascending, The Exchange, Queen and Country, Insomniacs, About Time. I guess you say it's Perot, Charlie Countryman, Labyrinth, Nora, Wasteland. In Labyrinth, she played Alice Tanner. Wasteland, Great Expectations, The Hour, and Love Lost. So those are just some of the credits she's played in. And she does have some decent acting chops in terms of doing action movies. I mean, she played in the Fast and the Furious Hobbs and Shaw. She's played in multiple Mission Impossible movies. She's played in The Crown. So she has a wide range of acting, but I've never really seen her on screen. The last Mission Impossible movie I saw, I think, was Mission Impossible 3. So, and she wasn't in that one. So, yeah, she does. So, by all accounts, just by her, credits here, she does have a wide range of acting chops, not just in the action area, but in getting people to love the character. Okay. So, I do think that she is maybe a decent fit for this character. Okay. But, like I said before, I've not seen how she acts. I've not seen how far she gets into the character, if she really can or not. So I really can't say for sure whether or not she is a good fit for this character. Now let's move on to Johnny Storm. Now, as you know, Johnny Storm in the original comics was Stu Storm's brother. And this right here is who's going to be playing Johnny Storm, and it's Joseph Quinn. Now, some of his most recent stuff includes Stranger Things as Eddie Munson. He played as, I think, as Gronire in Overlord. He played as Arthur Havisham. And in Game of Thrones, he played as Conor. And just to look at some of his acting chops, he played as Horde. He played in Horde as Michael. He played, as I said, in Stranger Things. He played as PC Dixon in Small Axe, Billy Knight in CB Strike, Tom in Makeup, Prince Paul in Catherine the Great. I think it's Enorsa or Endoras in Les Miserables. Overlord, he played as Groner. In The Hoist, he played as Hash. He played in Howard's Inn. I've heard of Ken, but I've never seen it. But he played as Jamie in Ken. He played in Time Wasters, Game of Thrones, Instinct, and Code. I've not, and this is another one I haven't really seen. Okay, and I think it's a good thing they're really getting some unknown actors. Okay, you don't want all the actors to be known in other MCU projects. Okay, and I really do think that is a good thing. The thing about Johnny Storm is Joseph Quinn is going to have to be this brash guy. Okay, he's going to have to be brash. He's going to have to show useful and experience, and he's going to have to be that type of guy that we saw Chris Evans portray in the original two films. That's who we need to see. Okay, Reed Richards is a calculated man. He's a smart man. He thinks things through. Johnny Storm is going to have to be someone completely opposite of that. Okay. So I really hope that Joseph Quinn can bring that type of energy to the screen where, whereas Richards is calculating and, more thoughtful and trying to think three steps ahead. And Sue Storm is more the motherly type. You know, Johnny Storm is the brash guy. He's the brash guy, who jumps first and asks questions later type of guy. And I hope that Joseph Quinn can really bring that to the screen. And now, finally, let's look at Ben Grimm. Now, if you remember from the comics, Ben Grimm was a test pilot. When he got exposed to the radiation that the rest of them got exposed to, he got powers. The only difference is he basically turned into a big old chunk of rock. Okay. He was basically a walking, talking chunk of rock with superhuman strength. And he's being played by Ebon Moss Bachrach. Now, he's not unknown to us in the MCU. Okay. I should say. He has played in The Punisher, but The Punisher ain't part of the MCU yet. But he played as David Lieberman in the Netflix Punisher series. Okay. And he has played in Girls and the Tokyo Project and John Adams and some of the other stuff he's played in. He's played in Possession, The Bear, No Hard Feelings. He played as Arvin Skeen in Andor. He played in The Dropout. He played in Shark Stick, Nosferatu, Interrogation, Tesla, Lying and Stealing, The Good Posture, Blow the Man Down, The Big Take, Interpol, The Rover. Those are just some of the movies he's played in. So yeah, those are just some of the movies he's played in. I think that if this is going to be a successful role for him, he's got to bring the protector to the equation. Okay, he's got to be the guy who's seen stuff and who knows how to protect the other three. Okay. See, in the Fantastic Four, each person plays a role in the family. You have Reed Richards. He's the thinker. Okay. He's the guy who comes up with stuff. He's the guy who makes plans, all that. You've got Sue Storm. She's more the motherly type. Okay. She doesn't protect the rest of them, but she kind of keeps them going where they need to be. You know what I'm saying? She's more the motherly type, strong and independent woman, but at the same time, she loves her now family. Okay. And she does consider them all her family. Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, her brother, of course, and of course, Ben Grimm, because they've all gone through what's happened. Okay. You've got Johnny Storm, who is more the brash, impulsive type. He doesn't think first, he just leaps. And then you got Ben Grimm, the guy who's seen stuff and wants to protect the other three. Even when they don't want protecting, he still does. Okay. Strong, fierce, a wall against the world for the other three. Okay. And I think that's going to be really important that each person in whoever plays these roles, that each person fulfills one of those roles in this movie. Now, as I said before, this is going to be their first introduction into the MCU. So this is not going to be like a sequel to the original two films, okay? This is going to be their introduction into the MCU. Now, we've already seen Reed Richards. He was in the Multiverse of Madness, but that was kind of like a alternate version of Reed Richards sort of thing, okay? And I really wish they had gone with John Krasinski, okay? I thought he did a great job as Reed Richards in the Multiverse of Madness. From everything I've seen, from the YouTube clips I've seen, he did a great job. So I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't choose him to go with Reed Richards because I think it would have kept things on a continual basis, saying, oh, look, Here he is in the Multiverse of Madness. Here he is in Fantastic Four. He's Reed Richards. Okay. And I don't understand why they didn't go with John Krasinski as Reed Richards. I have nothing against Pedro Pascal. It's just that John Krasinski, from all accounts, played Reed Richards really well in the Multiverse of Madness. And I think it would have been something continual that could have occurred from Multiverse of Madness to Fantastic Four, especially for the fans. So there you have it. Those were the actors and actresses who are going to be playing the Fantastic Four. We have Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. We got Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm. We got Ebon Moss Bachrach as Ben Grimm. And we got Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. Let me say this, okay? This looks like a decent cast. The only one I would say that I really know anything about is Pedro Pascal. He's a great actor. Do not get me wrong. He's a great actor. I have nothing against him as an actor or anything. But here's the thing: is that I really wish they would have gone with John Krasinski because it would have been a continuation thing. Okay, he was in the Multiverse of Madness as Reed Richards. He could have been in Fantastic Four. I just don't understand why they could not go with John Krasinski because of what happened in the Multiverse of Madness. Because he was in it. I would have preferred that, but they went with Pedro Pascal. Here's the thing, okay, and I'm reporting on this because I think this still could happen. Okay. The thing overall, though, is this: is that there's a lot of stuff going on at Disney right now. There's a ton of stuff going on at Disney right now. Not only do you got the Gina Carano lawsuit, you've got Nathan Peltz in the background trying to take control of Disney from Bob Iger, essentially. Okay. And want to revamp all these franchises from Indiana Jones to Marvel to Pixar to Star Wars, all of them. He wants to set them on a proper course. Okay. So I'm reporting on this because they're saying this is going to occur in 2025. All right. And if nothing changes between now and then, it could still happen. But with everything going on behind the scenes at Lucasfilm, behind the scenes at Disney, with all the stuff about Nelson Peltz and Gina Carano lawsuit and all that, I really don't know how solid this is. Okay. I mean, they've made the announcement, but how solid is this? Okay. Is this just an announcement just to get some of those shareholders off, their backs, to kind of placate some of the shareholders who are with Nelson Peltz, to kind of say, hey, look, we still got stuff going on at Marvel. Just give us time, blah, blah, blah. Or is Nelson Peltz going to change everything? Which, that would be in his right. And I think he should do. I think he should change a lot of stuff. Okay. But with everything going on behind the scenes of Disney, with all the lawsuits going on and the all the stuff going on with Nelson Peltz and the whole proxy fight and the shareholders and all that, I really don't know how solid this day of 2025 is. Okay, I really don't know how solid this information is because if Nelson Peltz takes control, he could very well cancel this and start over from scratch. Okay, he very well could do that. All right, and so until we get more information, I can't really say whether or not I'm excited to see this. I think there's some great actors who are going to be playing these roles if they play these roles. Okay, and that's a big if because, like I said before, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes at Disney. Okay, if they play these roles, all right. I think there's some great actors. It all depends, and if they do decide to make this, I think it's all going to depend on what type of energy they bring to the screen. Can Pedro Pascal play the smart guy? Can Joseph Quinn play impulsive and brash? Can Ebon Moss play someone who has seen everything and wants to be a protector? Can Vanessa Kirby play the motherly type, the one who wants to help guide everyone in the proper direction, while at the same time being an independent woman? Okay. Can they each bring that type of energy to this film? And plus, we still don't know who the bad guy is. We still don't know what the storyline is. And let me see if I can't find the storyline. See, there ain't no storyline here. Okay. So, what's the main storyline? Are we going to be dealing with Doctor Doom? Are we going to be dealing with Galactus? Are we going to be dealing with an MCU villain we've maybe seen before, like AIM or maybe even Hydra? Okay. Who are we going to be dealing with? We don't know a whole lot. Okay. So, until we really know some concrete facts, and until I've seen a trailer, I can't really say yay or nay whether or not this is all good news or whether or not this is bad news. Because there's so much stuff going on behind Disney right now that until you actually see a trailer, I would say until you actually see a trailer, take everything with a grain of salt, honestly. But yeah, they have made the announcement of who the cast will be playing the Fantastic Four. We've got Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards. We got Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. We've got Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, and we got Ebon Moss Bachrach as Ben Grimm. The announcement has been made, and by all accounts, the movie should be coming out in 2025 unless something changes. And that's the big if in the room. If something changes. Now let's look at our last bit of TV and movie news. And if you were like me, you loved animation of Marvel during the 90s. You know, you loved the original Spider-Man animation series. You absolutely loved it. You probably even watched the other Spider-Man series. I can't think of the name of it, but there was another one where it talked about Spider-Man going to another world. If you could think of it, let me know. But one that was really near and dear to a lot of people's hearts was the original X-Men series. Okay. And now they're doing the sequel and they're calling it X-Men 97. If I can get it on here. And this is the sequel, and it is streaming on March the 20th, and we'll talk about that later on. But yeah, it is going to be a sequel to the original X-Men animation series. Now, just to kind of refresh you where it left off at the end of the original 90s X-Men animation series, Charles Xavier had gotten seriously hurt at Summit for Mutants and Humans. Okay. And it took Magneto and X-Men to call Lalandra, who was an alien, who came down and said that she could heal Charles Xavier, but she would have to take him away from Earth to her world to heal him. Okay. And so that's how the X-Men ended, with him leaving Earth and leaving everything up to his X-Men, as he said on the final episode, which was called Graduation Day. So I'm kind of wondering, where this is all going to take place and some other things. But we'll get to that later on. But let's look at the overall trailer. And this is the trailer for the new X-Men series that's a sequel to the original animation series, X-Men 97.
Watch the series finale of X-Men next Saturday morning. Check your local listings.
I'm grateful to have the chance to say goodbye. I am proud of you all, my X-Men.
Fate lies in our hands now. Now.
Okay, so the first thing I noticed is that they are trying to keep the animation style, okay? But they are updating it at the same time. So it does look like something that would have come on in 97, but at the same time, it does look like something more modern in terms of animation style. So that's the first thing I am noticing.
We
And right there, you've got the Daily Bugle, you've got a throw to Spider-Man, you've got Inside Scoop, Mutant Fashion Show. So, there's that going on. So they are going to be throwing like little things towards other properties like Spider-Man. We might even see stuff like the Defenders, which I think would be cool. If we had like, Kristen Ritter come on here as Jessica Jones, if we had maybe some stuff from the Avengers, I would like to see that as well.
Have to stay vigilant. The professor entrusted us with his dream.
Now, we're seeing someone being lowered into a casket right here. And I have to wonder, is that Professor Xavier? Okay. Because at the end of the original series, he was taken off world to be cured, to be healed by Lilandra. But even she wasn't sure if he could be healed or cured. So I'm kind of wondering how far after the end of the series this is taking place. Is this taking place immediately after? Because I remember Lalandra taking him in her spacecraft and taking him off world to be healed, but she even wasn't even sure if he could be healed. So I have to suspect that maybe some time has passed. Okay, because I just don't see them just jumping right back into it after so many years of it being off the air. I just don't see that. So I would have to say some time has passed, but you don't want too much time passing, you know? So I would not so I would think that, you know, maybe this does take place in 2000. They're calling it X-Men 97, but I think this would take place in maybe 2000. Maybe the Lander brings Charles Xavier home and he dies. Okay? So is that really Charles Xavier in that casket or is that someone else? That's the overall question we have.
No,
And right there, you can already see that there's still a problem between humanity and mutants.
no matter how dark it is.
And right there, there's a scene of what looks like to be an assault on the Xavier school. And I'm trying to get a close up of the patches. Let's see here. Because I'm kind of wondering, was that shield that we saw? It doesn't say, but I mean, it looks like United Nations because of the blue cap. So maybe the United Nations is launching some type of raid against the school. Now, right there, we saw a huge Sentinel arm. If I can ever get back to it. Right there, we saw a huge Sentinel arm. If I can ever get back to it. There we go. Right there, we saw that huge Sentinel arm. It's good to see the Sentinels are going to be back, but I don't think they'll probably keep the same design. Okay. I think we'll see the same design, but I think over the series, if it goes on for a while, we'll see the Sentinels evolve some. Okay. Now, we saw them evolve in the original series as well, where they started thinking and that sort of thing. But I think we'll see an overall design evolution of the Sentinels throughout the series.
We must believe.
Now, this right here, this looks very reminiscent of the Apocalypse storyline, the whole pyramid thing. And you've got Charles and you've got Magneto over here. So I'm kind of wondering, is this taking place in the future? That's something that we should consider right there.
Each other.
We get this done by work.
And we have the original team right here. We've got Bishop, we got Rogue, we got Gambit, we've got Wolverine, Storm, Cyclops, we've got Beast. I know Jean Grey's going to be in this. I have to wonder though, since this came out, there's been some new characters that have come on board. Like one example that comes to mind is X-23. Are they going to bring X-23 on here now? How are they going to do that? So I'm kind of curious. Like, there's been new X-Men characters who have been created since this series came out. How are they going to integrate them into this new series, and how are they going to integrate them into what's already been established? That's my question.
Working together as a team.
Jeez, Bob, keep buzzing in my ear.
It really does seem like they're keeping the same type of personality for each character. Now, I don't think they'll keep the same voice actors, but it does seem like that each character will keep their personality. You've got Wolverine, who is, not really a follower or a leader, but he's always the guy who has his own way of doing things. He's the wild card. And you've got Cyclops, who's the leader, who's trying to think forward and all that. So yeah, I think we are going to keep the same personalities for all these characters. Now this right here is a video, and right there you see Jean and Cyclops, and it looks like Jean Grey is pregnant. So I'm wondering, what's going on here. And that's why I think some time has passed. So while this is called X-Men 97, I think more than likely this might take place in the early 2000s. Have some time pass between the end of the original series and the beginning of the new series. Because I just don't see them just jumping straight into it. So I do think that some time has passed. I would suspect maybe at minimum 3 years. That's where my thinking is. At minimum, 3 years have passed since the end of the original X-Men series and this new series.
Heads up!
To me, my X-Men.
And there you have it, X-Men 97, streaming March 20th. I think this is a good time to stream it, okay, because, it's March, April, you've got summer right around the corner. It just depends on how many episodes there is. People are going to be staying inside a little bit more. So yeah, I think this is a pretty decent time to stream it. Um, I don't think there's really anything else coming on Disney Plus at that moment. So there really is a big old gap there in terms of content that's going to be on Disney Plus.
Magneto.
The last.
And there we see, Magneto. He is coming back. I wonder what capacity is he going to come back in. Is he going to come back as a villain, or is he going to come back as maybe their new leader? I'm just kind of wondering, where is he coming back in this? Because at the end of the series, it seemed like him and Magneto and Charles Xavier, I should say, had kind of made peace. Okay, and maybe Charles Xavier had gotten through to Magneto. Now look, Magneto lived a hard life. Okay, I can't really explain what all happened to him, but he's lived a rough life. Okay, and he has seen things that have colored his view. But at the end of the series, it seemed like Charles and Magneto had come to some sort of understanding. And maybe Charles had finally reached Magneto and changed him to stop destroying humanity. Okay. So I'm kind of wondering, has he gone back on that? Has something happened since then that he has gone back on that? He's gone back to his old ways, or is he going to be leading this new X-Men series as their version of Charles Xavier or something?
Magneto.
The last will and testament of Charles Xavier. Everything he built now belongs to me.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, how's he going to play in all this? Okay, is he going to use those resources for that Charles Xavier gave him to try to destroy mutant kind? Maybe that's why they're launching the raid, or is he actually going to try and help humanity? So I'm kind of curious where that's going to take place. And it is streaming on Disney Plus. You know, it's a good trailer, okay? And I really want this to succeed, okay? But this past week there's been some news coming out that's kind of giving me pause a little bit. And I have Disney Plus now, so I can watch this if I decide to keep it. That's the main issue, if I decide to keep Disney Plus. But some of the stuff that's coming out this past week about it has kind of given me pause, and I'm worried that they're going to start doing what Marvel does best, injecting their nonsense politics into this, and I don't want them to do that. Keep the original series, add the new characters, okay? And if those characters are one way or the other, fine, okay? So be it. But add the new characters, but keep the original series as it was. Keep the original characters as best you can, and all that. And don't sit there and add this nonsense to it and ruin, for me and probably for a lot of other people, a great memory of a great series. Okay? Don't ruin it. Okay, and that's what I'm worried about, is that they're going to start injecting this nonsense into this, and it's going to not only bring down this series but the original series as well. But yeah, we've got X-Men 97. It is coming on March the 20th. If I can ever get back here. Yeah, see right there, X-Men 97 streaming March the 20th on Disney Plus. yeah, it is coming on March the 20th. I really don't know what to think about this because, on one hand, I want to see a sequel. I want to see what happened next. But on the other hand, look at Marvel's track record. Okay, it just seems like with every failure, they don't learn. Okay, they don't learn anything. So part of me is kind of excited, but part of me is like, you know what they've done before. Don't get your hopes up. So yeah, that's where I'm at. But yeah, I got Disney Plus now. I got Hulu now, so I do intend to watch X-Men '97 when it does start streaming on March the 20th. Now let's look into our gaming news. And in our gaming news segment, we've got some exclusive news from Insider Gaming, and that is that Respawn Entertainment, the people behind the famous Jedi Fallen Order series as well as Jedi Survivor, are now developing a first-person Mandalorian game. And this is coming from Insider Gaming. And it says here, Insider Gaming sources have revealed that Respawn Entertainment is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game that is in its early stages of development. And it says, according to sources, the game will see the player take control of a Mandalorian bounty hunter who set during the time when the Galactic Empire is dominating across the galaxy. It's your job as a bounty hunter to capture bounties, dead or alive, for cash rewards. Okay, and there was some stuff about who was going to be directed, but that has since changed with this update. And it says here, the game's high mobility has been made possible story-wise thanks to the Mandalorian's jetpack. So they're going to be focusing on mobility and style as guiding principles here. So let me just kind of give you some of my own thoughts and opinions on this. So first off, I think that they should give people the option to create their own Mandalorian. Okay, make it kind of like the Division. All right, where you can create your own Mandalorian character, and you can give your own Mandalorian his own style. Like instead of having like a silver outfit, he can have whatever symbols he wants. And throughout the game, as you complete objectives, as you complete bounties and that sort of thing, you get different decals and stuff that you can put on your armor. Okay, that gives access to how you can dress up your armor. All right, even have different types of Mandalorian armor. Different helmets and that sort of thing. Because if you've ever seen the Mandalorian, not every Mandalorian's helmet is the same. Some of them have that little visor thing that kind of flips down. Even the jetpacks are kind of different. Some of the jetpacks have a missile and some don't. You've got the singing birds. You've got the disruptor guns. You've got all kinds of stuff that can differentiate different Mandalorians from one another. Okay, so I want to see that in the game where you can sit there and make one Mandalorian look completely different from someone else. Okay, something for people to show off and say, "Hey, look, this is what my Mandalorian looks like." Okay, that's what I want to see. Another thing I want to see is some type of RPG element going on. Okay, that's something else I want. That's something else I want to see also is an RPG element to go on it. Okay, where like as you complete bounties and as you do things in a certain way, you get maybe points to take to your character and strength and armor, different weapons, give you access to maybe the singing birds, or maybe you start out with handguns instead of a long rifle. Okay, maybe you can find a way to add an RPG element to your jetpack, where when you first start out, you don't have a rocket on it, but then you have one, maybe two, maybe three. Maybe you have knee rockets and that sort of thing. Have some of that linked to RPG elements, include that causes increases in strength, intelligence, scanning, whatever, different things. I want to see some RPG elements as well as some cosmetic elements. Now, I don't want to see microtransactions, but cosmetic elements that can really differentiate your Mandalorian from, say, someone else's Mandalorian. So if you're playing as your Mandalorian, you might play differently than, say, this person over here might play differently. And also set up to where if you have your rocket pack at a certain level, let's say you can only fly when you first start out for maybe 30 seconds on your jetpack. And as you progress throughout the game, you get increases in range and speed and height and all that. Okay. Let's say as you get up in those elements, you have to come back to certain areas to find certain secrets. I want to see that as well. We've seen that in respawn games where if you don't have like a certain force power in the Fallen Jedi, okay, or even in Jedi Survivor, you have to come back and get them, okay, after you gain certain force abilities. I want to see the same thing in the Mandalorian. I think it's going to be really cool if they do, and that's another thing I want to see. I want the ability to make my own Mandalorian. Okay, I want the ability to color it the way I want to color it, have what skills I want depending on my play style and that sort of thing. Okay, and I really kind of hope it is open world. Okay, I really want it to be open world. All right. It says it's a first person shooter, but I kind of want it to be open world. All right. And I know that everyone and their uncle is doing open world, but I really would like it to be open world. All right. Because then that would make incentivizing them to come back to some of these areas. Okay. I think what they need to do is need to take what they worked in Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor and bring it to the Mandalorian game. If they could do that, that would be incredible. Okay. But yeah, breaking this past week, Respawn Entertainment, the people behind Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, are making a Mandalorian game. It's going to focus on movement and style, and it's going to be about a bounty hunter who is going to be going throughout the Galactic Empire at the time, who's going to be making bounties throughout the time. Okay, he's going to be capturing bounties, turning them in for cash. I think also, depending on the story, he'll probably turn them in for Beskar also. All right. And I think that's going to be a possibility as well. But yeah, they are making it. There's no release date yet, no trailer yet, but they are in the early stages of making a Mandalorian game at Respawn Entertainment. So that was your Geek Report for the week of February the 12th through February the 19th, 2024. Just to kind of look back over what we talked about, the live action Masters of the Universe live action reboot movie has gotten some exciting news this past week. The Fantastic Four have been announced for the Fantastic Four movie. We've gotten our Sue Storm, our Johnny Storm, our Thing, and our Reed Richards for the upcoming Fantastic Four movie that's going to introduce the Fantastic Four into the MCU. X-Men 97, the sequel to the original X-Men and animated series, got a trailer this week as well as a release date. And over in gaming news, we got news that a Mandalorian game is in development at Respawn Entertainment. Early stages of development, but in development nevertheless. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are staying safe and staying healthy. Check out some of my other Geek reports and my special commentaries over on my other pages at the end of this video. I will see y'all in the next video and in the next stream. Laters.